What's up guys, Phoenix here, and in today's video I'm going to be giving you guys a deck profile of the Dragunity deck that you saw me playing on my DevPro Duels video that you saw a couple days back. Now keep in mind that throughout this deck profile that this is still very much in the alpha stages of testing. There have been some minor tweaks that have been done to it before the video to make sure it was sound enough for the video, and as well as after the DevPro video, a couple of minor changes were made just to improve upon things. But essentially this deck is working off the theory of Duxs equivalents, maxing out on Duxs equivalents, maxing out on combo cards, and cutting the cards like Blue Eyes, Trade-In, and things like that essentially at the end of the day are just filler. The filler cards that you're trying to draw into your combo pieces with could just be better as combo pieces. So that's the theory this deck is operating on, because it's trying to minimize the bricking that the deck had, especially since when you open with 5 cards instead of 6, having a brick in your hand in the form of Blue Eyes with no trade-in is very relevant. But other than that, we're going to just go straight into the deck list. So, starting out with 3 obligatory Duxs and 1 copy of Dragunity Legionnaire. Having access to popping monsters as well as being able to efficiently run Acklys in the deck as a 4th tuner, by having access to this card even as a 1-of is very good. And also this sort of acts as the 4th Duxs equivalent, because it, in combination with any other card that you run 4 of, like Garuda or Instant Fusion, which there are 4 combined copies of those cards in the deck, is essentially the same thing as Duxs, because this will bring back the flanks, and then Garuda or Instant Fusion will give you the level 4 that you need to go off from there. 1 copy of Zephyros, because I don't know if you heard, but Ravine is banned, so you don't want to run more than 1 of this, because you can access it in every way that you want, but you don't want to draw it. And then the last 2 winged beasts in the main deck are double Garuda and the Wind Spirit. Now, this card, it has been pointed out by many people that my stance on this card has completely changed in the past, year. From Nationals 2013 and onward, up until the point when Dragon Ravine got banned, I still hated this card. I did not like the card's design. I didn't like what it did for the deck. Well, I liked the plays that you could do with it, but I didn't like the fact that it just chewed through Vajrayanas in your extra deck. It made every play that you used it in take 1 more Vajrayana than another play could have had. Mistleton was just a better card. And then the rank 4s that you had access to were just not very good at the time. The best cards you had access to at Nationals for this guy to abuse was Zero Fine and Emerald, and you didn't need Emerald because Pot of Avarice was legal. Pot of Avarice got banned in September, but then the deck started running, just a ton of Dragon Rulers, so you didn't want to make Digesto Emerald because you just wanted your graveyard to be fuel for Dragon Rulers. So this card was always just it just seems subpar in my opinion. But my stance on this card is now that if Dragon Ravine was back in next format, I would still more than likely play 2 copies of this. And I attribute that to my growth as a player in general. Once Dragon Ravine got banned in January, I started playing Mermails very, very religiously, as some of you know. I even just did a deck profile of the Mermail version I'm currently playing. And that deck plays 2 copies of Aqua Spirit, which is an exact mirror of this card. And at the start of me playing Mermails, I didn't like that card either, because I still didn't like the card design. But the things that it did for that deck and the ability to, bypass your normal summon started growing on me, and it started showing me, the true potential of what these cards, do. Cards that work with your combo plays and make your big plays live, but also can just do the simplest thing, just be dropped and have, something on board as presence without having to interfere with your normal summon. It turns out that those are just very powerful, and I really like those card designs now. I really like the design of cards that bypass your normal summon and give you something you can do. As well as, this being able to be searched by Gate Egg, which Aqua Spirit is, completely unsearchable. It just makes this card even better in my eyes, as well as the fact that, you want to have access to some rank 4 plays in the form of Emerald, 101, Exciton. If Ravine ever came back, I would guarantee you I'd run 1. I'd more than likely run 2, depending on what the status of Soul Charge was at the time. But, yeah. Garuda, I really like the card now. I really like the card design, because I used to just be very, no-nonsense on Mistleton's just better. But now Mistleton isn't better because you can't always have the Duxs. And I've started thinking in that philosophy. But anyway, the dragons in the deck are triple flanks and 1 Acklys, and then 1 Flamvell Guard. This is just in here to send extra cards off Dragon Shrine, and if you don't have access to Goldsark Tempest, You can Goldstar Blaster and get that, and it's an extra card in your hand to discard for Gator, to search a card, or with cards of consonants. One copy of Mistletoe because like it's a brick by itself, plus because like Garuda and Instant Fusion do what it would be trying to do in your hand just as well, only a little bit better because they're searchable. Like Garuda's searchable, Instant Fusion bypasses your normal summon. Like this, you need a tuner with it, and it's just kind of weird. Then Tempest and Blaster. Blaster is just there for a beater, and the aforementioned Goldsark to make cards of consonants live. And then the last card, Dragon-wise, is Red Eyes. If I could legally start every game with this card on the bottom of my deck, I would, because it really sucks to draw it. But the last two monsters in the deck are double card car. I don't know if I'm going to continue running these or not, because they literally, in all my testing, they've almost never come up. They came up like once, but that was just because like I needed a turn to set Decree. I already had all the combo pieces in my hand that I needed, but I also had this in Decree. So I just set Decree, set one more card, and then played this, and allowed me to establish my Decree for my combo play next turn. But other than that, like, it's always either comes up when I already have an opening hand going first that has a combo in it, that's just better to do anyway, or like it comes up like when I'm already winning the game and I don't want to give up my turn to just drawing two cards when I could just, establish a bigger board. So, I don't know if I'm going to continue running them or not. It just depends on where the theory goes. I'm currently, in the works of testing like some different theories on like running just like really small hieratic engines and things like that. There's multiple different versions and theories I have going on this deck right now. I'm trying to take it as seriously as I can for a deck that I'm probably never going to play at a large event. But anyway, that was the monsters. There's 18 of them, and there are 15 spells. Triple Upstart Goblin, double cards of consonants, triple Dragon Shrine, 2 copies of Instant Fusion. I really don't like this card. I said before, if Ravine came back, I would definitely play Garuda. If Ravine came back, I would most definitely not play this card if Soul Charge was still legal. Or even if Soul Charge was banned or gone or something, I probably still wouldn't play this card. Simply because it like eats up at least one spot out of your extra deck, usually 2. Like it's eating up 2 spots in my extra deck now just because you need the extra Mavelus for if you can't get into Emerald. But even like if you had Ravine back and you could just discard this card, it still just eats up at least one spot out of your extra deck, and that's something I'm not really a big fan of. So I'm not sure on my position on this card at this point. I don't dislike it. But like it takes you out of 2 Soul Charge summons, because every time you play it, it takes you out of 1 Soul Charge summon, and then if you do anything with Zephyros, that's 400, so that technically takes you out of another Soul Charge summon, because it's, bringing you down below another 1,000 threshold. So, like, it's really weird. I don't know what my stance on this card would be if Ravine came back, and that's really scary, considering that I was waiting for Mavelus for a really long time. But it's good and necessary. It's both good and necessary right now. So I guess I'll just keep playing it. Double Soul Charge because like 2 Instant Fusions and Zephyros already take life points out of your chunks, and then also you're going to be getting hit by things. So Soul Charge at 2 seems really, it seems like the right number. Especially since like the plays you can do with Soul Charging for just like 2 is really, really good. And then the last spell cards are Book of Moon, Goldsark, and Foolish. Book of Moon is like the best defensive card in the game right now. It has been for quite a long time, and it's honestly my favorite non-archetype specific card. Just my favorite general spell card. My favorite generic spell card in the game is Book of Moon. In terms of like Monster Reborn, Pod of Avarice, all those. If I had to say my favorite spell card just in general, it's obviously going to be Dragon Ravine. So anyway, but that's the 15 spells, and then the trap lineup is just 7 cards. Triple Reckless to draw more cards. Double Decree to be a catch-all. And then Bottomless and Compulse. I cut the Torrential from the build that I was playing in the video to put the Book of Moon in, because Torrential is just a card that I don't really agree with in any Dragunity deck in general. Simply because if you're in a losing position, Torrential's really good, but you probably weren't winning the game anyway because you were already in a losing position. And regardless of whether or not Torrential hits anything, and then I'm not running Warning because the life points are really real with Soul Charge and Instant Fusion and Zephyros. So there's that, and just Torrential. You never want to Torrential your own board of like 3 big guys to stop one threat your opponent has. It's really just basic stuff at that point. But here's the extra deck. For the 8s, 1 Crimson Blader, 1 Scrap Dragon, 1 Colossal Fighter, Stardust Spark, and Stardust. Stardust Spark actually might be even cut for Thought Ruler, because I don't want to cut any of these, and you can't cut Stardust, because these are all really good. But like Thought Ruler being able to gain life Really good. Really, really good. So Stardust Spark might be getting cut for Thought Ruler because it does come up occasionally where Stardust Spark is better than Stardust, but it's very rare. And like you can always protect the Stardust or just bring it back next turn with Red Eyes if it gets beat over. Like there's just things like that. But for the 6s, the 1 Gatorg and the triple Vajrayana, and that's the 9 Synchros. 2 copies of Mavelus. I said in my Dev Pro video I was only running 1, but I upped it to 2, just because, like I said earlier, your Emerald plays, you just sometimes don't have the luxury of going into them. And I was just playing a Librarian in my extra deck beforehand, and because that makes, like, Soul Charge plays insane. It's like, summon Librarian, Soul Charge for 3, and then make 4 big monsters, and draw 4 to 5 cards. It was just really unfair, but it was very try-hardy. Like, you had to actually go out of your way to get the Legion and do all that, so I just made room for the second Mavelus. And then for the Exceeds, for the 6s, we have Ptolemy, Bouncer, and a Tum for your 6s, and 1 Daigasu Emerald as the lone rank 4. Gaia Dragon is not needed by any stretch of the imagination because, like, you're never going to Ravine Zephyros anymore because Ravine's banned. So you're 9 times out of 10 using Zephyros on Red Eyes, literally every single time. Unless you're in, like, a grindy state where you're having to reuse your Duxs, in which case you're never going to make a Tum anyway, until you get to the point where you're going to end the game that turn. So, like, Gaia Dragon never comes up because the Tum was always getting banished for, you know, the summon of Red Eyes. And so it's a card that steals games, but, like, it's not needed in the extra deck. Simply because there's, like, not room. Having the 2 Maveluses in here just eats up room for everything. If these weren't in here, if I didn't have to run these, I would probably play Trident Dragon and, like, Librarian, or maybe Armades, Librarian, and just there's just a lot that would change with this with Ravine legal, obviously, but I feel like the deck would be really, really good. And I feel like this deck is really good once the theory gets, you know, down to make it to where it can consistently make plays. But anyway, that's just my own 2 cents on the matter. As always, guys, remember to comment, rate, and subscribe if you would like to continue seeing more content from me. Click an ad if you haven't yet. I'd greatly appreciate it. It helps me make money, and there's no reason to lie to you guys about that. And it just, you know, of course, it gives me a little bit of added incentive to continue making these videos and trying to get them out in a timely fashion for you guys to watch. If there's anything you'd like to see in a future video, me doing or discussing, except for Vylons, even though Roto's at 2 and I really want to play it, I don't want to do more Vylon things because it's just weird. But if there's like an overzealous amount of people that want to see me do Vylon theory and all that, I guess I'll do it. It's just, I don't know, Roto's at 2, so Trident Warrior is significantly better, but the deck itself is just kind of strange. I haven't been able to, like, in all my thought processes, I haven't been able to pinpoint a theory on Vylons yet. But yeah, just if you want to see me discuss or do something in a future video, drop a comment down below or leave a message on my Facebook fan page, which the link to will be in the description. I still haven't made my new Facebook account yet, but when I do, I will leave a link to it on my Facebook fan page and all the videos that I make afterwards of that account going live. So you'll be able to access it no matter where you go or what you do. But other than that, until next time, guys, take care.